What is going on, everybody? This is Connor, the co-host with the most, here back with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports. Yes, this does sound very weird. There is no Zach entering the episode. He's been having some pretty bad internet issues, going robo and everything. So we're having to roll without him, but we are still here. We're having another episode. We're going to be previewing the NFL season. We're going to give our division predictions, our playoffs and Super Bowl predictions, and our award predictions, including MVP. Spoiler, we all have a different pick for that particular award, so it's going to be interesting. And now I will introduce you to the rest of the crew.
What's going on, guys? It's Eric, the ranting co-host here. Right now, I'm going to rant on Zach's internet connection because it cost him being able to be here. Really sucks to not have Zach, but this is going to be a NFL content loaded episode, so hope you guys enjoy it.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nate here. It's kind of bummed that Zach's not gonna be able to sorry, I'm not gonna be able to with us tonight. All right, there we go. Bummed that Zach's not here, but I am excited to talk about real football. We kind of had a little bit the past 2 weeks, but I'm glad to get back into predictions, and now that we've had a whole preseason almost to see who's looking good and who's looking rough. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nate, I just noticed this. I noticed that you copy pasted Mac Jones's head onto Jarrett Stidham there, but I just realized,
Yep.
Is that a Thanos gauntlet I see on his arm right there?
It is. Yep.
Wow.
Gonna take over the NFL.
Oh man.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna go around the shield, guys. So as we previewed earlier, this is gonna be all about our NFL predictions. We have our division predictions here, and awards and playoffs. So it's definitely gonna be an interesting season ahead. So we're gonna get right into it with the NFL. I'm gonna scroll down here. We will still mention Zach's predictions because he is a little bit different on certain things. But we're gonna get going here with my favorite team's division, the AFC North. So I guess I'll just share my prediction first. I have Cleveland winning the division. So I'm not a homer. No one can accuse me of that. I have Cleveland winning the division. I have Baltimore in second. So you really know I'm not a homer because I don't even have the Steelers in second. I'm trying to be, unfortunately, painfully realistic about this season, having us finishing third. I know Eric and Zach are very familiar with that when it comes to the Jaguars. You're not picking the Jaguars to win the division every year like I've kind of been with the Steelers. And then I've got Cincinnati in last. Mainly why I have this order here is because Cleveland to me just seems like the best team in the division. They looked like the best at the end of last year, and they really only got better in the offseason. They brought in John Johnson to be in the secondary. They were able to draft a couple key pieces. They drafted Newsome in the first round to beef up that secondary, and then I don't know how they managed to do this, but they managed to somehow get I don't know, what am I doing here? They managed to somehow draft JOK in the second round. I don't know how he managed to fall to them, but props to Cleveland for drafting him and picking him up. And really just, I see Baker Mayfield. I don't know if I necessarily see him getting better. I just think he's going to kind of keep the same trajectory. They still have that deadly rushing attack with Chubb and Hunt and obviously a really good offensive line. So I don't see too many weaknesses in Cleveland, really. I guess the secondary probably is still a little bit of a weakness, but, they definitely did some things to improve that by bringing in Johnson and drafting Newsome. Baltimore, for me, they're going to be the same team, basically. I just think, Lamar Jackson's throwing is going to hold them back, unfortunately. And also the fact that J.K. Dobbins just went down with an ACL injury hurts them even more. So I don't see Baltimore being able to take over Cleveland unless Lamar Jackson can really, work on that throwing and start looking like more like a quarterback and less like a running back. And then, like I said, at the end here for the Steelers and the Bengals, Steelers, just a lot of question marks, unfortunately, with us. I think the defense is going to be as strong as ever. The secondary, we did lose Steven Nelson to free agency, so going to be a little bit weaker in the secondary, but still have Minkah Fitzpatrick, still have Joe Hayden. And then the front seven is just as good as ever. I mean, TJ Watt on one end, Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward kind of more so in the middle. And then the linebacking core with Devin Bush. And we recently traded for Joe Schobert. I think that was a great trade, get another inside linebacker. It's just more so the offense. I think Najee Harris is good, but the offensive line is a huge question mark, obviously. And, you can't do anything in football without a good offensive line. So it's just really if the offensive line can show up, I think this team could easily finish in second. I don't know if they'll challenge for the division, but they can finish in second if the offensive line can live their potential. And then I just don't see for Cincinnati, I think they didn't draft offensive line. I think Joe Burrow is just going to get sacked 70 times this year, and that's going to hold them back. So, but that's enough for me. I know Eric has the exact same prediction as me: Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. But Nate and Zach as well, they both still have Cleveland winning and Baltimore in second, but they both have Cincinnati in third and Pittsburgh actually coming in last in the division. So explain to me what the logic is there, Nate, why you think Pittsburgh's going to finish last and Cincinnati third.
Yeah, so I kind of struggled a little bit with those picks because I kind of could see it going either way. I think Pittsburgh's roster, top to bottom, I think is better, more talented, but they have been kind of inconsistent. And especially if Big Ben is going to go in as a starter again, it's I could really see this kind of being the year where he really falls off. So, and then on the other side, I could see this being, if Joe Burrow comes back healthy, he could, kind of have a breakout year there. So it's kind of one of those things where it's I won't be surprised either way. I think those are going to be the two third and fourth teams, but I just think there's a possibly a better chance that it's the Bengals year rather than the Steelers there.
Yeah, I sure hope that doesn't happen. That would be
right.
It's been the Steelers have not had a losing season in my lifetime, so see them. Well, actually, that's not true. Since I've really been watching, because I think when I was 2 or 3 years old, 2001, 2002, we weren't very good. But really, since I've been, old enough to truly watch and follow, we haven't had a losing season. So seeing us come in last place in the division would be a little bit of hurt. But, I guess a lot of people would say that, it's about time that happened because the Steelers have been so dominant for so long. So, but I am going to send it right back to Nate because now we're going to talk about his favorite team's division, the AFC East and the New England Patriots. So Nate, take it away.
Yeah, so the AFC East I think is looking pretty interesting this year. I'll go through my picks and kind of talk about talk about my reasoning. I've got kind of something that might have seemed like a bit of a surprise after last season, but I have the Pats pick to win the division. And then I've got the Bills.
Shocker there.
Yeah, but I'll explain it's not a favorite team thing, but then I've got the Bills in second place, the Dolphins in third, and the Jets coming in last. So I picked the Patriots to win the division just because I think going back to last year, they were very close to making the playoffs, even with the really bottom tier roster they had. I mean, they've replaced so many players in free agency that I think they do have a chance to make the playoffs and win the division. I think that the Bills should be right up there with them, but I think again going back to last year with those two times they played each other, it was very close. The first time the Patriots basically choked that game, and the second time they got blown out week 16 or 17 or something like that after the team had kind of been through the ringer and the Bills were getting hot and going into their playoff run. But I think that's kind of my, I guess you could say surprise or upset pick is for the Patriots to win the AFC East. And the Bills, I think they're not going to obviously do bad. They'll be right up there with them, and I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. And then the Dolphins are, I think, doing a decent job with their rebuild as well. If Tua makes another step forward, they could potentially surprise people this year. But I think overall, them and the Jets are kind of going to be the bottom dwellers there.
Yeah, so Nate has New England winning, Buffalo second, Miami third, the Jets last. Eric and I, we both have Buffalo winning the division. We both actually have Miami over New England. So Nate has New England winning, but Eric and I have New England in third ahead of the Jets. So Eric, talk to me about why you think New England's going to finish below Buffalo and Miami, unlike Nate, who's got them above both of them.
Yeah, so New England made a lot of moves this offseason, and I could maybe see them getting second place, but I definitely don't have them winning the division just because I just think Buffalo is just too good. I mean, Josh Allen improved a lot last season. Stephon Diggs was obviously a fantastic addition for them. I mean, they just look like the best team. They struggled against KC in the playoffs, but I mean, this is still a really good team. And to me, looking at the four teams in the division, like it's not even close. But then the reason why I have Miami second is because a lot of times when these teams in the NFL and free agency, when they have a ton of cap space and they go out and they bring in a bunch of people, on paper it looks really good, but for whatever reason it seems to fail a lot of the times. I've unfortunately experienced this a lot with the Jaguars. We'll have like 80 million in cap space. We bring in like 5 or 6 big names and you think, oh, we're going to be good now, and then we're still like not good. I don't know. I guess because of bringing in that many people and then letting go so many other people, it kind of, I guess it affects the team chemistry, and they don't have enough time to come together since they're basically a newly formed team, and it takes time. So I don't think New England's going to be quite ready yet. So that's why I've got them finishing third. Connor, do you feel any differently on this? I mean, I know we picked the same standings, but do you have any other different feelings about this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you that Buffalo is far and away the best team in this division. I did really have a head scratching moment, like deep think, I guess, about whether between Miami and New England. Zach, by the way, has New England in second ahead of Miami. Still has Buffalo winning. Obviously, we all agree the Jets are going to be in the cellar because, sorry, Jets fans, but your team is trash. Especially since Carl Lawson also just went down. So like your best player basically is out for the season now. So
way to go, Connor. Any Jets fan listening to us, no doubt. Thanks a lot.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think Miami, it just takes time for a team to get used to each other. I mean, I know if there's any coach out there that could probably do it, it's Bill Belichick. But and also really the thing that sets them apart for me or puts Miami above New England is just because that's the reason. Because really, I think they're kind of even at the quarterback position. Like, I think you've got Tua in Miami who he can step up and play, but he needs to do it consistently because he had good games last year, but he also had really bad games. So, but the rest of the team I think is really solid, and they're bringing back the same key pieces, and that defense is fantastic. Whereas like New England, they're going to have an interesting time with trying to juggle Cam Newton and Mac Jones. So I think that could be an issue. Anytime there's really like a quarterback battle / controversy, it kind of hurts teams really. And who knows how long this one's going to go on? Because honestly, out of all the teams that like San Francisco, New England, and Chicago, this one I think could honestly last the longest. Like I could see Fields taking over like week 3, and I could see Trey Lance taking over like week 3 or 4, but this honestly, I mean, who knows if Mac Jones is going to see the field this season, in my opinion. But obviously, if Cam starts to struggle, there's going to be all calls for Mac Jones, like, oh, well, now we need Mac Jones, but then Mac Jones is going to struggle, and then there's going to be all like, oh, well, you should have kept Cam in, like. So I think that's going to hurt them, honestly, and that's why I have them third. But now we'll go back to Eric to talk about the AFC West with the defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs.
For sure, guys. So my take on the AFC West is pretty similar to last year, where Kansas City is the obvious favorite to get it. I think out of all of these divisions in the AFC, I think they're like the most solidified to win the division. Like some of these other divisions, you could maybe make a case for the team that's not the favorite to win, but I don't see the Raiders, Chargers, or Broncos posing any threat to the Chiefs. And we all reflect that. I mean, we all have Kansas City in first. The only differences we have, because we also all have Denver finishing last. I just don't like their quarterback situation. Like I've seen people online, they're like, "Is it going to be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater?" For me, I just don't really think it's going to matter. Like
Teddy
Drew
Bridgewater
Lock,
week 1.
yeah. I mean, I was excited for Drew Lock. Like when he first came into the NFL, like I didn't think he was going to be like elite necessarily, but I thought he could be pretty good. But he struggled, and as our native Panthers fans will tell you who had Teddy Bridgewater last year, you know, he's the king of checking it down, dinking and dunking. Like he's not going to provide like an exciting spark for that offense or anything. I mean, the Broncos do have a pretty good defense, but I just don't see them getting out of the cellar yet. They got to get a better quarterback on this team, and you know they're lacking some other pieces too. But I guess the only like debate where we have differences is between the Raiders and Chargers for who's going to get second or third. I have the Raiders finishing second. Nate has the Raiders finishing second. I didn't see. I'm not sure who Zach has.
Zach has the Raiders second too.
Okay, so we all have the same except Connor has the Chargers in second, and then the Raiders third. But for me, I like a lot of the moves the Raiders made. Especially bringing in Yannick Ngakoue on the defense. Like obviously as a Jaguars fan, I've had a head scratching, relationship with him, but I do have to admit he is, a good player, and he struggled at times bouncing around, from team to team with the trades and all that. But I think now that he's in a more stable situation, I think he's going to bring a great pass rushing element to that team. I like that they got Kenyon Drake on offense to pair with Josh Jacobs. They can have a nice, tandem there. Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Like I really like a lot of the pieces the Raiders have. I do like Justin Herbert better than Derek Carr, but for me, the Chargers lost a lot in the secondary, and I think that's really going to hinder them going forward this season. So it's not, for me, it's not necessarily like, oh, it's obvious the Raiders are going to get second. Like this is going to be a pretty close battle, I think, but I am giving the edge to the Raiders here. But Connor, since you picked the Chargers to be second, explain your thoughts on that and why you have them above the Raiders.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much just like, I don't know. I kind of see the Chargers as like kind of somewhat developing into a KC like team where I feel like this offense is going to carry this team, and like it's going to be like the defense is going to be bad. I mean, I'll just say that the defense isn't going to be great. I don't know. I mean, they still have some good pieces on the defense. Like they have Derwin James, they still have Chris Harris. Obviously if Joey Bosa can stay healthy, he's really good. So they have some good pieces. It's just overall the defense is pretty bad. But definitely what sets them apart is this offense. I mean, Justin Herbert is clear and away the better quarterback, in my opinion, than Derek Carr. And I think he's just going to take another step forward. Austin Eckler is a really good dual threat running back. I know obviously we thought he was good because we picked him in our podcast fantasy league. So
yes, we did.
And also, I mean, the good news for Austin Eckler and Herbert is that this offensive line got a major boost during the offseason. They drafted Rashawn Slater. He's supposed to be he was the second best tackle behind Penei Sewell. So he's going to be a good addition. They were able to bring in Corey Linsley from Green Bay, probably arguably the best center in the league at the moment. And they managed to get Brian Bulaga to come to the team from Green Bay, another good tackle. So this offensive line got a major upgrade. So Justin Herbert's going to have more time to throw the ball, get it to Keenan Allen, get it to Mike Williams. And also Austin Eckler is going to have running lanes opening up. So I just think the Chargers, like I said, I think this offense is far and away better than the Raiders. I don't trust Josh Jacobs really anymore. Like he had a really good rookie season, but he was pretty up and down last year. And I don't know if I really see him having any more growth to go with his game. And I don't really, and Kenyon Drake, he's good, but he's kind of more of just a serviceable, career backup, honestly. And Derek Carr is I think people have trusted him for far too long in the Raiders. I mean, I honestly think they probably should have moved on from him, but he's still there and he's still decent, but I just got to give the edge to the Chargers because of that offense for sure. All right, and so now we will move on to the AFC South to talk about, Eric and Zach's favorite team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes, I almost did a Duval there. I thought about it, but
Please
I
no.
won't. I won't just since Connor's hosting this, I won't do it. But yeah. So this division is definitely probably the weakest in the AFC. Obviously, as a Jags fan, I hate to say that, but um, unfortunately for me too, I have the Titans winning the division again. I'm pretty sure we all had that. I do think the Titans are vulnerable because I think they lost some key pieces. They did get Julio Jones in, but they lost a pretty good amount of they lost some good talent. But the problem is I just don't think Indianapolis, Jacksonville, or Houston's going to be able to overtake them. Um, and then especially Houston, we've all got them last. Most likely Watson's not going to be playing, and their quarterback situation is bad. They've lost DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, J.J. Watt. I mean, pretty much everybody that's good on this team, they've lost them, and so like the Texans are in full rebuild mode right now. So I don't see them getting anywhere or contending. And then in terms of the battle for second and third, I have the Colts over the Jags. I just don't think the Jags are quite ready yet. Like we talked about them last week as being, we as a group ranked them second out of 10 on the most interesting teams to watch. I do think they are a very interesting team to watch, but I just think the Colts are a better team. The only thing I think that could get Jacksonville over the top is if like Wentz were to I mean, he's obviously injured right now, and I from what I'm hearing though, he's not expected to miss too much time, so that's why I have the Colts. If his injury had put him like out for the season, I'd probably move Jacksonville up, but he looks like he should be ready to go though, like in not too long, and I just don't think the Jaguars are quite ready yet to make a leap. But again, like I said though too, I don't think any of these teams are ready to challenge Tennessee. I think this division is theirs to lose. But Nate is more optimistic than me about the Jaguars. He has them second over the Colts. So, Nate, let me know why I'm wrong, and let me know why my Jaguars are going to do better than the Colts.
Um, yeah, so I don't necessarily think you're wrong at all. I just feel like I'm just kind of, I guess I might just be buying into the hype after the last two preseason games, but I just, for some reason, feel pretty optimistic about the Jags. I do like the moves they made in the offseason. I don't think they're like, you know, a clear-cut playoff team or anything like that, but I just think like the uncertainty that the Colts have been having at the quarterback position with Carson Wentz's injury. And I think T.Y. Hilton might be missing some time now. It's kind of like overall, I think their roster is as good or maybe even better as the Jags, but it's just in the past years they've kind of had trouble, I think, getting over the hump. I think Tennessee is still like the clear-cut best team in the division, but I think really it's kind of like a toss-up to me between the Jags and the Colts for that next spot. Like I could definitely see the Jags sweeping the Colts this year. And obviously, Houston's definitely going to be the bottom dweller. But yeah, I don't know. I guess just optimism. Not really a like a definite reason why I think they're gonna be much better than last year, other than just Trevor Lawrence being there and a couple additions like Shaq Griffin and some of those guys.
Yeah, it definitely is a difficult pick. I know. Basically, for me, I guess, I'm the same as Eric. Zach, by the way, has the Jags also finishing second. He's got the same as Nate with Tennessee, Jacksonville, Indy, and then Houston. The problem for me right now really is, it's kind of like every day I feel less and less confident about picking the Colts second just because the Colts are getting hit by the injury bug already. Like, it looks like Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson really won't miss that much time. I mean, it sounds like Carson Wentz, from what I've heard, it looks like he's going to play week 1. If not, then he definitely should play week 2. Kind of the same for Quentin Nelson. So, that's good news for the Colts. But then, like Nate mentioned, now T.Y. Hilton looks like he might miss some time. And also, they just lost their starting left tackle for the year to an injury. So, like, the Colts are really having bad luck right now with this injury bug. Because honestly, if I look at the rosters, obviously the Jags also lost Travis Etienne to a season-ending injury, so that's not good for them. But in terms of talent and experience, I think the Colts are easily the better team, just because the Jaguars, this is a very young team that doesn't have a lot of experience. Potentially next year, I think the Jaguars could make some noise. If Trevor Lawrence really lives up to his potential, if they can get ETN back and get a good tandem with him and Robinson going and, whatnot, it's just, the Jaguars are just too young right now. And also, I think their defense is far worse than the Colts. I think the Colts, they're going to have to get carried this year by Jonathan Taylor and the defense, because their offense, the rest of their offense, like with Wentz and the receivers, is looking worse every day. So it's difficult. I will agree for that one. And it's really interesting, too, just to look at this dynamic because, it's such a toss-up between Indy and Jacksonville, but it's not like, I think we could all agree that, like, we don't think either of these teams are going to make the playoffs. It's not like, with Miami and New England where, like, those two teams could be fighting for playoff seeding or even a playoff spot, whereas this is just kind of like for pride, basically, honestly, like who gets second and third. So that's the AFC wrapped up. A positive outlook, I guess, for New England, and somewhat positive for the Jaguars, not positive for my team, unfortunately. But, like I said, maybe it's about time for the Steelers to not do well for once. But now we're going to move on to the NFC North. We're going to go same order, North, East, West, and South. Talking about Caleb's favorite team here, the Green Bay Packers. We all have Green Bay winning the division. I think it's pretty clear cut in my mind that Green Bay is the easy favorite for this division. There was all the drama with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. Like, is he going to come back? Is he going to play? Is he going to go host Jeopardy? Like, we didn't know what he was going to do. But now pretty much, Aaron Rodgers, he's back. He's going to play. He's got this. It's pretty much the same team from last year. Like, he's still got Aaron Jones back there. He's still got Devontae Adams. The defense is still pretty much the same. You still have Zadarius Smith and a couple of those other key pieces there. The offensive line, I will say, did get a little bit worse. Obviously, they lost Corey Linsley and Brian Balaga during the offseason. So that's going to be a little bit of a question mark. But the rest of the Packers offensive line is coming back, and it was one of the best units in the league last year. They still obviously have David Bakhtiari, who's arguably the best tackle in the game at the moment. So not too much bad things to say about the Packers. Honestly, I just think it's like they've been there and done this before. Maybe I'm trying to end the Packers hate on this podcast because so many times we've tried to pick the Packers to not win stuff on this podcast. But for once, we're finally all, giving the Packers their due diligence here, and watch, now that we all picked them to win the division, they're probably going to have a terrible season and not even make the playoffs. So sorry, Caleb, if we jinx you. But really, and then also we all have Detroit finishing last. Detroit, it's kind of the same for them as like all the rest of the easy cellar dwellers, like the Jets and the Texans. Like, Detroit's going to be fighting for that number one pick. They lost Stafford. Obviously, that was the big thing. And they lost Marvin Jones to the Jaguars. And, the Jags are in a bad place right now. Or the Lions are in a bad place right now. And it's like I said, we're reversing trends on this podcast. It's like we always like to hate on the Packers. It seemed like we always kind of overhyped the Lions too, especially Zach and I did that. We tried to pick them finishing second a couple years, but now we're all kind of coming back to reality and realizing they're the Lions and picking them last. The real battle obviously is going to be for second and third between the Vikings and the Bears. Kind of like it seems like a trend here for most of these divisions. It's between second and third. The Vikings, I'm going to give them the edge again, just because of the quarterback problem. I do think Fields takes over sometime week 3 or 4, but it's going to take him a little bit to get used to the game. And obviously we don't know if he's going to even be, the star-studded prospect that some people think he's going to be. Ohio State has a really bad track record with quarterbacks in the NFL. So who knows if Fields is going to be that guy or not. Obviously the team around him is pretty good. He's got David Montgomery and Allen Robinson to play alongside, and that defense is still pretty good. But, kind of the same reason, I guess, why I have Indianapolis over Chicago is just, they've kind of, or why I had Indianapolis over the Jags and why I have Minnesota over Chicago here is just, they've been there, done that. Kirk Cousins is obviously not the best quarterback in the world. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, but they do still have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. Justin Jefferson, had a fantastic rookie season. He's looking to break out in his sophomore year. They still have Adam Thielen over there, and the defense is, it's getting there. It's still not great, but Mike Zimmer will be able to. I think he'll be able to get just enough out of this defense that Minnesota takes second place in the division. But Eric is the different one on this one, where he's got Chicago over Minnesota. So why do you have Chicago taking second over Minnesota?
Yeah, Connor, you said it. You said it for me yourself, and you said you can't trust Kirk Cousins as far as you can throw him. I'm not a believer in him. My reasoning for almost picking Minnesota to be second, though, was just because of the QB situation in Chicago. I think they need to put Fields in right away. I think if they mess around and wait too long, that could cost them. But if they come to their senses and play Fields right away, I think they have a better team around him than the Vikings do, especially defensively. I don't really like the Vikings defense that much. And I don't know, Kirk Cousins has already had times where he struggled, and I feel like eventually it's just going to happen where he just starts to get even worse. And I don't know. I've always been more of the Chicago believer on this podcast than the rest of y'all. Like, I know in the past I picked them to win the division when y'all didn't and stuff like that, but I'm still a believer in Khalil Mack. I'm still a big believer in Allen Robinson. Like, as long as they got guys like that on the team, I'm still a believer. And if they get Fields in there quicker, then this will be the best quarterback that they've had since we started doing this podcast. So I am definitely more of a believer in the Bears and the Vikings. And I will say, I think Caleb was probably liking everything you were saying, Connor, there until that very last comment. I don't know how he's going to feel about that. So just remember, Caleb, Connor said that, not me.
Well, don't worry, because we just talked about Caleb's team, so now we're going to get to talk about Sean's team here with the Eagles in the NFC East, and also Susan's favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. So, Eric, take it away.
Yeah, so yes, we are going to talk about Susan's favorite team, the Cowboys. She's not going to be happy with...
And obviously Eric's favorite team, the New York Football Giants.
Oh, well, Connor, we're on speaker, like I'm already about to be in trouble here anyway, but yeah, Susan's not going to like my pick. My biggest problem with the Cowboys is just their defense. I mean, their offenses, they basically got the same offense as last year. Dak should be coming back healthy. Zeke's still a solid running back. They've got great weapons. Like, I mean, if the defense was as good as the offense could be, like, this could be a Super Bowl team. But my problem is just their defense is just so bad. I mean, there were games last year where they were giving up 40 points, and they didn't make enough moves to really give me any reason to believe that things are going to change. I mean, they drafted Micah Parsons. Like, I think he can be a pretty good linebacker for them. But linebacker was already the one thing that they were at least pretty solid at. Like, whereas it's their defensive line and their secondary is just awful. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm really worried about them. I'm hopeful I'm wrong, obviously, because like I've said before in the podcast, happy wife, happy life. So, Dallas, I'd really like if y'all could win some more games this year so that Susan could be happy and, make sure our relationship keeps going smoothly and everything. So, please start with, please.
I mean, shouldn't she be wishing that the Jaguars do better for you too?
Well, there's no like happy husband saying,
That's true.
I mean, obviously she'll be happy for me if the Jags do good. I'll be happy for her if the Cowboys do good. But like, come on, Dallas. Like, I know I'm predicting you to finish third, but prove me wrong here, please. But my thing is that I've got Washington and the Giants ahead of them because they have much better defenses than Dallas. Their offenses aren't as good, but I really like the weapons that Washington has. They've got Terry McLaurin, they got Gibson at running back, and Fitzmagic is coming into town. Like, I don't know how he's still going, but he just keeps finding a way, and he is inconsistent, but he has games where he shows flashes and can be really good. And while the NFC East is not a good division overall, I think he's going to do just enough to get them over the top. And then for the Giants, while I don't trust Daniel Jones, but they got Saquon Barkley coming back healthy. They've got Evan Ingram, and I don't know if he'll stay healthy or not either, but they brought in Kenny Galladay. So I do like what they have on offense and as well as their defense. And then unfortunately for my friend Joseph, who's joining our fantasy league this year, who's an Eagles fan, I have the Eagles getting last. I just don't really like their situation. They're already having some injuries as well, and I don't know if I trust Jalen Hurts enough to be the starter. And then they just traded for Gardner Minshew from the Jags, so that's adding even more uncertainty. I mean, obviously he's not going to come in and start over Hurts or anything, but I know I've seen some Eagles fans that were kind of scratching their heads about that, wondering like why they felt like they needed to bring Minshew in. So there's just a lot going on in Philly, and they're going to need more time, I think. So let me see here. Looking at who we've got here. So I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, Connor and Nate are both different.
Yeah,
here.
we actually have quite a bit different. So I
yeah,
guess
I'm gonna go to Nate here because Nate has the Cowboys first, who I have third, and then he also has the Giants, who I have second, finishing last. So Nate's got quite a bit different of an outlook here. So Nate, explain your picks and just like again how I had you talk about why the Jags were going to do better than what I predicted. Let Susan know why the Cowboys are going to do better than I predicted.
Yeah, so I think the NFC East, it seems like year in year out is just almost kind of like a toss up there. Like I know last year was just like outrageously bad. There was like a losing team was going to make the playoffs and all that. I don't think it's going to be quite that kind of a mess this year. I think Dallas and Washington are actually set up to with decent rosters there, and I think Dallas. I think it's gonna be huge getting Dak Prescott back. I mean, he was on fire the first few games last season, and granted, the defense he put up a ton of points and they lost. I think the majority of those games when he played, but he put up crazy numbers, and if he can kind of come back healthy and be in that at that level again, they still got Zeke Elliott. They got CeeDee Lamb, who might take another step forward. So I think it's like I think they have enough firepower to match up at least with anybody in the NFC East. I think they're definitely better on paper than Philadelphia and the Giants. And I think Washington is. I like the Fitzpatrick trade or acquisition. Actually, I think he's going to be a good vet for them. But I think Dallas at their peak is better than Washington at their best case scenario this year. So I'm giving them the edge, and then I think Washington's definitely the second best team though, and the other two are kind of still in their rebuild there.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I think it's between Dallas and Washington. Dallas, I mean, I have to agree with Eric. I just think the defense is going to hold them back. They're just too bad. And then the Giants, like, Evan Ingram's already getting hurt. Kenny Galladay seems like he's already somewhat getting hurt. Saquon Barkley's injury prone, and I definitely don't trust Daniel Jones. So, honestly, I think it's really like a battle between Washington and Dallas for first and second, and then the Giants and Eagles for third and fourth. But let's go on, and then just to share Zach has Dallas winning, Washington in second, and then Giants and Philly third and fourth. So he's kind of got the same as me there, like battle between Dallas and Washington, and then Giants and Philly for last. So let's move on to the NFC West, and we'll let Nate talk about the NFC West.
Yeah, so this is another division I think is kind of interesting. It's kind of gone through a lot of like reorganizing the past few years. I think Seattle was kind of top dog for a while, and then the Rams went to the Super Bowl, and then they kind of fell back, and the Niners took over, and then now they're kind of middle of the pack again. I think this year I have the Rams coming in on top, and then I've got the Cardinals in second place, 49ers third, and then Seattle in last. I think it is going to be between the Rams and the Cardinals with I really don't believe in San Francisco this year. It's kind of just hard for me to um, really get behind Jimmy G as their quarterback. We've kind of talked about this a few times in various episodes. I just don't really have a lot of faith in him as a real difference maker at quarterback there. So they've got a decent roster, but I don't see them really pushing a lot of teams. They'll probably have a winning record maybe, but not expecting a whole lot out of them. So it really comes down to me. And then in Seattle, again, that's kind of a rebuilding roster there. I'm not expecting a whole lot from them either. So for me, I think the Rams are just overall one of the best rosters again in the NFL. I think having Matt Stafford come in and replace Jared Goff, I think is just gonna be a boost. I think he's more dynamic and can offer more. Plus, he's got that veteran experience. There's no, really situation that should be unfamiliar to him. So I think that's going to be a good move for the team. And, loaded with guys like Aaron Donald and just guys all over that defense that should have them ready to contend week in and week out again. So I think they're going to be a tough out for anybody. And the Cardinals, I think, are going to be just a step behind them. But I do agree. We'll get into the MVP picks in a minute. But I do agree with Zach that Kyler Murray is going to have, I think, potentially a massive year. And I think they could be sneaky and really surprise some people and come in second place in that division.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the Rams are the best team in the division, top to bottom. They're one of the best teams in the NFC, top to bottom. So, Zach has the same division predictions as Nate: Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks. I have a little bit more faith in the 49ers. I think, this is a team that was in the Super Bowl just, a couple of years ago. So, and it's pretty much the same team, other than, Trey Lance and Jimmy G are fighting for the quarterback spot. So I have a little bit more faith in them. I definitely think it's going to be very close between San Francisco and Arizona. I could easily see, all three of these top three teams making the playoffs, especially with that seventh wild card. I definitely think all three of them are going to make it. But Eric actually has the 49ers winning the division over the presumptive favorite LA Rams. So, Eric, why do you have the 49ers over the Rams?
Yeah, so the vibe I'm getting from the 49ers is like the 2017 Jaguars. Like, you've got a great defense, you've got a solid run game, you've got some decent weapons. You don't have like the most elite weapons, but you got some good weapons. And obviously, the only difference that I'm seeing between them and the 2017 Jags is obviously they have an amazing tight end in Kittle. But but then the main thing that's common is the great defense and then the kind of mediocre quarterback situation. I think that this defense is going to carry the 49ers to a lot of wins. I think they'll win some games that they probably shouldn't win during the season. Like, we're going to get to our playoff predictions in a minute, but I think they're going to come back. I mean, last year, I know most people have been like, oh, well, Super Bowl hangover, but they had a lot of injuries, just like the injuries we were talking about with the Colts earlier. Like, that's what happened. The 49ers were that team last year. I mean, they were losing everybody to injury, and including most of their best players, but they still were like scrappy and they fought hard, and like they beat like the Rams and they beat the Seahawks. Like they won games that it just seemed like they shouldn't have won last year with a lot of backups in the game. Whereas, so they've got everybody back healthy. If they stay healthy, I can see them stealing the division. I guess this is kind of like my upset pick out of the for the divisional races. I know most people probably won't pick the 49ers, but if they can get this quarterback situation figured out, I really like their chances.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so now we're going to close with the NFC South, probably one of the more boring divisions that we're going to talk about here, mainly just because Zach isn't here, unfortunately, because Eric and Nate and I all have the same: Tampa Bay first, New Orleans second, Carolina third, Atlanta last. Zach actually has Atlanta in second, ahead of New Orleans and Carolina. I'm guessing Zach, he definitely thinks that Kyle Pitts and the Falcons are going to do a lot better this year. For me, I mean, obviously, defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't see any reason why they're not going to win it this year. New Orleans, too many questions at quarterback for me to really, contend with Tampa Bay. The rest of the team is still the same, though. So that's why I think it's pretty safe picking New Orleans second. They still got Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas should be coming back healthy this year. The defense is largely unchanged other than Trey Hendrickson leaving, but I don't think that's a huge loss. So New Orleans is definitely there. Carolina, really what's going to hold them back is really Sam Darnold, in my opinion. McCaffrey is going to be healthy. They have a young up-and-coming defense, but I think Sam Darnold's going to hold them back big time. If there's any potential change in this, in my opinion, I could see Carolina going up to second if Darnold actually can live up to that potential. But I think he's going to hold them back. And then Atlanta, for me, they're just in rebuild mode, honestly. Kyle Pitts is really intriguing and everything, but Matt Ryan, I think, is going to keep regressing. And then they really still haven't done anything to improve that awful defense of theirs. So I just don't see how Atlanta is really going to go anywhere this year. They have way too many questions outside of Kyle Pitts, really. And also, like I said, I think Matt Ryan's going to regress more. So I'm just going to keep it quick on the South, like I said, since we all have the same predictions.
Yeah.
So now that's the divisions out of the way. Now we're going to move on to awards and playoffs. We're going to start with the awards. And I'm going to send it over to Eric for probably the most, I don't know, I guess I'd call it obvious pick here in our awards. And that's going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And talk to us about the Jags' future superstar, potentially Offensive Rookie of the Year quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, Trevor Lawrence will win Rookie of the Year. That's it. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, the only other person I could see challenging for it would be Zach Wilson, just because the other quarterbacks, are probably not starting week one. Who knows exactly when they're even going to play. And then, of course, ETN suffered a season-ending injury. With Najee Harris being more of a power back, I don't really see him contending for it. So I think it's just between Trevor and Zach Wilson, but I think Trevor has the better weapons around him. So I think as a result, he's going to put up better numbers, and I think it's a pretty slam dunk that he's going to take this.
Yeah, for sure. I think Trevor Lawrence, like I said, we all four of us have him winning it. This kind of feels similar to I know most of us, we all picked Joe Burrow last year. So pretty much, unless Lawrence gets hurt, I think it would be a shock to see him not win this. So then we're going to go over this year. We actually forgot about this last year, but this year we are all predicting our potential defensive player of the year. Now the three of us, me, Eric, and Nate, all have TJ Watt finally hoisting that award this year. I know, he lost out to Stephon Gilmore in 2019, and then, if you ask me, in my opinion, he got robbed last year when they gave it to Aaron Donald over him. I think he definitely deserved it. But this year, I think he's going to have a better chance just because I think, obviously the Steelers, the defense is still going to be really good, but I think it's slightly worse this year. So honestly, in a way, I think that's better for him because I think one thing that probably, maybe a couple of those voters that were on, because he only lost it by 5 votes or something last year. I think a couple of those voters that were on the fence were maybe thinking oh, well, he's got all these other superstars around him on the defense, and that's what, kind of holds him back from winning this award in their opinion. I think that's going to, like I said, the defense is going to be a little bit worse, and it's going to help him because he's still going to be his usual dominant self. But now it's okay, well, the defense isn't as good. He's still really good. So give the award to TJ Watt. So hopefully, crossing my fingers, it's been a long time coming for TJ. He's one of the most dominant edge rushers and defensive players in the league. And, honestly, just for a nice change of pace, it'd be kind of boring to see Aaron Donald win it again. Just because I feel like he's the perennial pick at this point, kind of like how, for a long time, Tom Brady was always in the MVP talk. It's Aaron Donald's always in the Defensive Player of the Year talk. So I've got TJ Watt. Zach actually has Myles Garrett winning the award, which I definitely could see that happening too. Most of us, we're going to get to it later, have Cleveland going pretty far this year. So, and Myles Garrett, obviously he was in the running for it last year. He kind of fell off a little bit towards the end of the year, and it kind of became a two-way race between Watt and Donald. But Myles Garrett definitely is going to be in the conversation. I agree for sure. Now, for Defensive Rookie of the Year, this is definitely the one category where there's no real favorite, in my opinion. And it's really hard to kind of pick someone who you think is going to win because, the top defensive draft picks this year were corners, but it seems like corners always struggle in their first year for, just to adjust to the NFL. So I myself am picking Kwity Paye. Zach is picking Zaven Collins. And then Eric is picking Micah Parsons, and Nate is also picking Kwity Paye like myself. So I guess I'll let Nate go first since we both picked Kwity Paye. What is giving Kwity Paye the slight edge for you in this event or in this award race?
Yeah, so for me, I think offensive rookie of the year is a lot easier to pick usually just because there's usually a couple of front runners coming into the season, but defense always seems like a guy always kind of breaks out like in the middle that you might not have expected, and just puts up like huge numbers and sometimes it's like someone you could predict like a top pick, but in any event, it's usually a player that puts up the best stats relative to their peers. I think the awards voters really love stats over, maybe actual like performance or like impact on their new roster. So I think that's why I wanted to go with the edge rusher. They're usually front runners because obviously if a guy gets 15 sacks as a rookie, that's pretty easy to pick them as the guy there. So I think Paye has a pretty good chance to do that. In Indy, he's got a decent supporting cast around him. So I think out of anybody, it's probably a safe bet that if he stays healthy, he could put up some good numbers and at least be in consideration for the award.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that supporting cast in Indy is really going to help him, shine and put up those numbers. But Eric, he's kind of going the opposite direction. He's taking a player who, he thinks is going to shine on what's an otherwise really bad defense. So, really quickly, Eric, why do you think Micah Parsons is going to win this award?
Yeah, Susan might not have liked my prediction of where the Cowboys would finish, but she will like me having Micah Parsons as Defensive Rookie of the Year. So hopefully I made up for it a little bit here. I kind of what you talked about with TJ Watt maybe having a better chance at the DPOY. Like I can see that for Parsons. Like even if the Cowboys defense isn't good overall, like if he's balling out and getting a lot of tackles or getting a lot of pressures or maybe sacks, like if he's getting a lot of numbers in a lot of different ways and kind of carrying the defense, like I could see him getting it. People would be, if this happens and people would say, well, man, the Cowboys defense struggles a lot, but man, it sure isn't because of Micah Parsons. Like he's doing everything he can. So that's why I have him there. Like linebackers have a good chance of getting a lot of numbers in a lot of different ways. They can get interceptions, sacks, tackles, like all different kinds of ways. So I think he's got a pretty good shot at it. The only reason why I think maybe not is just because their linebacking core is kind of crowded already. But if he can stand out and get starting playing time, then I think he's got a pretty good shot at it. But I also won't be surprised if I'm wrong because this is kind of a crapshoot. But
yeah, definitely more so than last year. I know it was kind of like with Chase Young last year, it made it a bit easier for most people, even though Eric and I didn't go that route. But this year, there's definitely no true front runner. So now we're going to go over to probably, again, this is going to be, if Offensive Rookie of the Year was, the least interesting, MVP is probably the most interesting, at least for us, because we all have different picks. Kind of last year we were a bit boring. All of us except Eric took Russell Wilson and Eric took Mahomes. Spoiler alert, he's taking him again. So I guess I'll go first here with my MVP pick. I am taking Josh Allen, the runner-up. Well, I guess not really the runner. Well, it was between him and Mahomes for like second last year behind Aaron Rodgers. But Josh Allen, he really improved last year, and I think it's only going to get better this year. I think he kind of like, I don't know. I think the reason why maybe he didn't finish higher in the MVP voting is because of the fact that he came out of nowhere. When the season started, there was no one saying that Josh Allen was going to, win the MVP. It was all, if the Bills were going to do well, it was going to be because of the defense and, Allen not making mistakes. But he came out and lit the world on fire. He was the top fantasy point getter last year, if that says anything. So, he's a dual threat quarterback, throwing the ball and with his legs. He's got a ridiculous throwing arm. I mean, it's crazy some of the throws he makes. Like, it's throws that he can definitely make throws that no one else outside of maybe Patrick Mahomes can make, just with that ridiculous arm strength. I mean, he just zips it in there like no one else can. He can throw the deep ball really well because he really just improved his accuracy last year. That was the big thing. He always had the arm, he always had the legs, but his accuracy came a long way. And also, again, now he's not coming out of nowhere. Now we all know who he is. We all know that Josh Allen is a really good quarterback and a real MVP threat. We know the Bills are looking like they're going to be, a force for years to come. And I think Allen's going to be, he's really going to get the recognition this year for that. I think, he's going to take the Bills to another division crown. He's going to take them into the playoffs. And, I think more so what helps him over Patrick Mahomes per se is, again, I mean, like, I know obviously he's got Stephon Diggs, but outside of Stephon Diggs, there's no real like true superstars on this offense. And I think that helps him over Mahomes because with Mahomes, he's got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and, the KC offense is just, loaded with stars. And I think that hurts him just because it's like, well, obviously he's doing well because he does better than well, but obviously, he's got all these weapons around him and that makes him look really good. I think Allen is going to be, the main force behind this team and the main reason why they're successful. And that's going to be the reason why he's going to win it. But as I've been alluding to, Eric did pick Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be the third year in a row now that he's picked Patrick Mahomes to be the MVP. So, Eric, he might be sounding like a broken record at this point, but Eric, why is Patrick Mahomes the MVP?
Well, obviously he's really good. Yeah, I mean, for me, I know you said the Tyreek Hill and Kelce and stuff can hurt him, but to me, it only helps him just because it makes it that much easier for him to get his numbers. And I mean, and the guy is just a superstar, a phenom. I mean, there's no throw this guy can't make. I mean, this guy is just incredible. And I was worried about their offensive line after what happened last offseason, but I know we've talked about salary cap issues, but somehow they managed to afford to make some big moves on the O-line. So their O-line is even better than what it was last year before the injuries that they suffered. I mean, he's going to have everything he needs, and he obviously has all the tools physically. And while he doesn't run as much as Josh Allen, like, he'll scramble and run around a little bit if he needs to. Like, he will get some rushing yards, probably get a rushing touchdown or two here and there. I mean, my main concern for Josh Allen, like watching him on film last year, like Connor's absolutely right. I mean, he's a great runner. He can make pretty much every throw. Like, he is a beast. But when watching him, he targeted Stephon Diggs a lot. I mean, and obviously for obvious reason because of how good he is, but I watched him in a lot of plays, and just as soon as he hiked the ball, he's staring down Stephon Diggs. He does that a lot. And I think that teams are going to start to keen in on that more and throw more double teams toward Diggs and make Josh Allen get somebody else, find another way to beat them besides Stephon Diggs. And if Josh Allen's not able to adjust to that, I could see him making more mistakes. Because like Connor said, he was under the radar. He was unknown last year. But now with everybody knowing who he is and everybody knowing how good he is, he's going to get more attention. So is he going to be able to overcome that and still take that next step and get even better? Or is that going to hinder him? So now if he's able to overcome that, he's got a great chance to win the MVP. But I worry about that for him because I was thinking about picking him and going away from Mahomes. But for me, Mahomes is just too good. He's got the best talent around him. I don't see, barring injury, I just don't see how he doesn't get it.
All right, so I've got Josh Allen. Eric has Patrick Mahomes. Nate, tell us why Baker Mayfield's going to win the MVP award.
Yeah, so Baker is kind of partly me wanting to not have the same pick as anybody else. I agree. Not that I don't believe in him, but I kind of was like, there's a couple guys I could see winning it, and I was like, I'll go for the different guy. I like Zach's pick of Kyler Murray. I think he's really gonna have a good year this year. But I think Baker also, if he's gonna have an MVP year, I think this is the year to do it. I think the Browns are coming in with a lot of hype, so he's already got like the narrative built in. Like he puts together a few good games. He's definitely gonna, at least on ESPN and all that stuff, he'll be, an MVP front runner, quote unquote. Which that does, as dumb as it sounds, it does matter for that kind of awards. So I think if main thing is if his offensive weapons stay healthy all year, I think he could potentially put up big numbers. I mean, he looked a lot better as a actual quarterback last year. He led the team to the into the AFC playoffs. Had their best year basically ever, at least as long as we've all been alive. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's could be any of those guys, but I think it's definitely shaping up for Baker to make a run at it.
Yeah, for sure. So that's all of our MVP picks. Like Nate said, Zach is taking Kyler Murray. So all four of us are different. Nobody taking Aaron Rodgers to repeat as MVP. So that's also going to be interesting because I think he could be in the running too. So we'll see what happens. Definitely a very more open race this year, I think, than in previous years. So now we're going to close the show with our AFC and NFC Championship and Super Bowl. So I'll go ahead and start with mine, and we're each just going to go down the line. So I have AFC Championship. I have Buffalo against Kansas City. I think it's pretty obvious that, most everyone here is going to take Kansas City going to the AFC title game. It's just, it's the same team, right? They're two-time defending AFC champions. They won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and again, it's the same team. So, and I think I don't really see anyone, especially, I don't know if I can see anyone taking them out early in the playoffs. Because honestly, I think they have a good chance to get the number one seed again, just because of that weaker division that they play in. They're not having to go against the teams that Cleveland and Buffalo are having to go against every week. So I think that's the reason why I don't see anyone taking them out early, because I think they're going to have an easy road to the AFC title game. Like they'll probably get to play someone like, I don't know, like someone, it's hard to think because they'll probably get to play someone like Miami or potentially like, New England in the first round. And I think that's a better matchup for them. They're going to avoid having to play teams like Baltimore and Cleveland early on, in my opinion. So easy road to the AFC title game. I have Buffalo. Obviously, I picked Josh Allen to win the MVP. So I think it's going to be a rematch of last year. I do think that Buffalo takes it this time. I think Allen is going to overcome that pressure that Eric was talking about, and he's going to take that next step. So I've got Buffalo winning the AFC title game. NFC title game, I think it's a no-brainer that these two teams should be in it. I mean, we all have this, Tampa Bay and LA Rams. Anybody who's not picking Tampa, I think, is not thinking clearly, just because this is literally the exact same team as last year that won the Super Bowl. So Tampa should easily make the NFC title game. And the Rams, I just think they're too stacked for anyone else. Like I could potentially see the 49ers. I could potentially see maybe someone like Arizona or Green Bay sneaking in there. But I think it's easily going to be the Rams and the Buccaneers in this one. I've got the Rams winning this time just because I think this is going to be, while I still think Tampa Bay is going to be a juggernaut, I think teams are going to figure them out more. And they're obvious, and I think some of these teams are not going to have the same offensive line problems that KC had. So I've got the Rams beating the Buccaneers in this game, and then I have a Super Bowl of Buffalo versus the Rams with the Buffalo Bills. Hopefully this is the year, Dad, that the Buffalo Bills are going to win it for you. And because I'm also excited, I've said this before, if Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl, then I'm going to the Super Bowl because my dad is buying tickets. So Buffalo, don't let me down. I need you all to win a championship for my dad in his lifetime. So this is the year the Buffalo Bills take it. And so I'll pass it over to Eric now for his predictions.
Yeah, so I would be happy for you if that happens. I just, like I mentioned, one of my concerns for Josh Allen, I don't know if it will. So I have Cleveland and Kansas City in the AFC Championship. I mean, I agree with everything Connor said about KC. Pretty good chance they get the one seed. get an easy path here. But then the other team that I think that will come out of it will be Cleveland. I really like their team as a whole. I think they've got I like their run game. I like their defense. I like their weapons. My biggest question though with them is Baker Mayfield. Actually, can he like truly put it together and help them take that next step? Because obviously Cleveland showed they had a good team last year, but I want to see Baker Mayfield prove it. And so I think that's going to be the difference though between them and KC. I trust Mahomes way more than I trust Baker Mayfield. So I'm giving Kansas City the edge here. Like Connor, I have the Rams and Bucks in the NFC Championship game. I know some people might think, well, why come you don't have San Francisco in there because you picked them to win the division? But like I talked about, like in the regular season, I think they'll win some games that they, shouldn't win probably, and I think they can. I do think they have a chance to steal the division. But then the shaky quarterback play is going to be what ultimately costs them in a playoff game versus either Tampa Bay or the Rams, because both of them just have really good defenses. And so I don't think San Francisco will get to the conference championship game. And I agree with Connor. I think the Rams are going to take it. I think Matthew Stafford makes the biggest difference for them versus Jared Goff, like Nate was talking about earlier. So I've got the Chiefs and the Rams in the Super Bowl, but I got to give it to the Chiefs. Obviously the Jags are my favorite team, but they're just a team that on paper just seems to be like the best on paper every year. And I don't see any Super Bowl hangover for them. I think they're going to be motivated more than ever. I think they're going to learn from their mistakes in that Super Bowl last year, and I think they're going to get back there, and they're going to take it this year.
All right, Nate, give us your predictions.
Yeah, so I have Kansas City and Cleveland making to the AFC Championship, and Tampa Bay and the Rams making to the NFC Championship. On the AFC side of things, I think Kansas City is still the best roster in the AFC. I'd be surprised if they didn't make it at least deep in the playoffs, barring any major injuries, obviously. And I think Cleveland's the other team that I also, could definitely see the Bills making it there. I was between the two of them for that other spot. But I'm going to give the edge to Cleveland just because I'm already on the Baker Mayfield, MVP train a little bit there. So I'd give them the edge. And I do think I really wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. But I'm kind of just going with like a regression to the mean here and saying that Cleveland's going to win that AFC Championship game and make it to the Super Bowl and come out of the AFC there. And then on the other side, I think Tampa is in a good place to repeat. Obviously, they brought back all 22 of their starters, which is kind of crazy to think about. And this year, Brady has a full year of work with all those guys on that offense. And I think that's going to be a huge thing, hitting the ground week one, totally in sync. They're all obviously had a great kind of like bonding experience, winning a championship be huge for any group of people. I think they're all coming back and ready to go. I think hitting the ground week one is like a fluid offense instead of just hitting that stride like middle to end of the season last year. I think is going to be killer for them. So if they stay healthy, they could easily take number one seed in the NFC and then get a good, favorable playoff matchups and make it to the NFC title game. And obviously the Rams have a stacked roster as well, but I just think Tampa Bay at their best can beat any team in football right now, and that's why I have them going on to beat the Browns in the Super Bowl there.
All right, so then right quickly before we go, I will share Zach's predictions since he's not here. He's got the same as Nate. Basically, Cleveland beating KC in the AFC title game and Tampa Bay beating the Rams in the NFC title game. The only difference Zach has is he's got Cleveland winning the Super Bowl this year over Tampa Bay. There you go, Cleveland Browns fans. Someone believes in you to finally win a Super Bowl. I hope it doesn't happen. Honestly, I hope it doesn't end up being that matchup. That would be like worst case scenario for me with a division rival and Tom Brady playing each other in the Super Bowl. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week, hopefully with Zach. but we're actually going to be doing a live stream on Sunday. We're going to be doing our Clutch Crew Sports Fantasy League draft, as well as talking about some more NFL, and then our usual episode on Tuesday. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, leave us a comment at Clutch Crew Sport if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, or any questions you just want us to answer. So thank you guys so much for watching again, and for Zach, be clutch.
See ya.